with the session and some of what you shared in that question about how this has been a gift. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm just blown away at this experience of feeling, I don't know that I've ever felt so connected to the Orange County Jewish community in the fullest way that I do right now. To be able to hear such diverse Torah from all of our leaders and teachers and from all of our people in Orange County here, just amazing. The key, how do we embrace what is? How do we not just tolerate what is, but embrace what is? And that's a lot of what was shared in this last half hour. And to me, there's a story that helps provide some insight into why do we have difficulty embracing what is, and what would it actually mean for us in a really authentic way, not just in a way of as a great idea. How do we live that? So the story comes from the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem teaches about a king that throws a huge party. And the party is, he invites everybody from all over the land to come and see him. And people flood to the castle, and at the castle walls, some people are looking, they try to find a doorway in through the walls, and they can't find anything, and they leave. But there's a larger number of people that are able to find the entrance through the walls, and they come into the courtyard, and the courtyard is musicians dancing, people singing. It's such a high, it's such a joyous occasion, and everybody's doing that. And then there's a smaller group of people that look and say, I think I see this other doorway at this room here. There might be even something else. And they go and they open the door, and sure enough, it enters into a smaller room and chamber, a library where people are studying and learning, and there's incredible insight into reality and life that's coming to them. And they're just enraptured in their study, in their meditation, and it's beautiful. And yet there is one person that gets up and looks and sees that on the other side of the library door, there's a small door, and goes in and enters that door. And sure enough, in that chamber is the king. And the king sees the individual, and he sees the king and recognizes him as the closest, most dear person that in his life, and they embrace, and they just sit and talk for hours and hours and hours. One of the pieces about this story is that for a lot of us, some of us take the reality that the castle is closed, is locked. We can't quite get in. Some of us get into the door and we love what's there, and we sing and dance, but we stay there. And when circumstances come that don't allow us to have that singing and dancing and great experience, we suffer. We don't know what to do. And then there's some of us that go a little bit deeper, want to understand more. And we come into the library, and we come into Torah and sacred text and learning and insight and wanting to learn about the world. And yet sometimes things will happen that we will have no frame to put around, no book to understand. And we can suffer. And then for those of us who are able to go ahead and reach even deeper in, we find that the living reality everywhere, that in fact, not only was the courtyard and the library part of the castle, but this was part of the king, that this is the king. And so we start to realize that everything around is holy. Everything is filled with the one. And it's in that place that there's wholeness, that there's nothing that is that's in our way. And the question is why don't we just go there right away? Why is it that we accept the constructions of our castle? And this dynamic of a castle, and the castle can be everything from, the need for COVID to end. We feel like our reality, we can only be whole if we're able to see loved ones in person. We can only be whole if we are able to have a job, which we really need. We can only be whole if we can seek pleasure in the way that brings us comfort and fulfillment. These are all the acceptance of the castle as being barriers to the one within, to the king. So I want to share with you some beautiful Hasidic texts from some of the Hasidic spiritual masters. And let me just see if I can get this here. Okay. Just give me one moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this comes from the Chernobyl Rebbe, Menachem Nachman of Chernobyl, 18th, 19th century master. And he starts with that the first principle of faith is that God exists. That God exists, that there is presence, that there is purpose, that there is meaning, that there is fullness and aliveness in the world. He was the first, and he created all things above and below. His creations are without end. And hope everybody can just excuse the pronouns here and just go, everything, all of it, God. It all began with a single point. The point of supernal wisdom, chokhmah. Whether you want to understand this physically as the Big Bang of a single point of the most concentrated energy that expands out into the universe, or to say that there is a core, a blueprint for creation, a sense of deep pattern and purpose and meaning behind everything that unfolds, and that is the root, the single point, the root of all reality that we are in this moment. The power of the Creator is present in all his creations. God's wisdom suffuses everything that exists. So that's everything. That's me, that's you, that's life and nature and anything that unfolds its energy, that the power of God is in that. There's presence, there's pattern, there's wisdom, there's purpose in all of it. This is the sense of God not being something that's separate from us or an idea out here, but something that infuses all of us and all of life. This is the wisdom, the meaning of the verse. Wisdom gives life to those who possess it. Gives life. So this is not an intellectual experience. This is a enlivening experience to sense and know and be in the presence of the Creator in all of life and all of creation. Believe with complete faith that God fills and surrounds all world. He is both within and beyond them all. So not only whatever we're speaking about of this presence and aliveness and purpose that we use the label God for, that not only does it infuse creation, but goes beyond what we can conceive as creation. Because remember, when we say creation, we're talking about a human construction, an idea of what we fill in that box that we call creation. And the reality of God is it goes beyond the box. It always goes on the beyond, and it invites us to draw larger and larger boxes, vessels, to be able to contain this presence. So I just to skip down here, another way that this line right here, God is the place of the world, but the world is not his place. So in and beyond. What I want to open up just for a little thought and reflection and discussion is whether or not this kind of theology, this way of understanding God and purpose in everything, whether that speaks to you or resonates with you, or whether you have no idea what I'm talking about. What do you think is the practical result of adopting this perspective? And this is a question I'd love to hear some responses to. If I were to fully open to the reality and was able to live and experience a sense of presence, purpose in all moments, what we're in right now, and even when it's beyond, what would that do for my life? How would I live my life? How would I make choices about in my life if I had that perspective? So let's go down here. Now I'm on an iPad, so I can't see that many screens. So maybe you can try the hand raise, and or you can try just unmuting and speaking. We can try that too. So what do you think is the practical result of this perspective? Don't be shy here. Want to hear some of your Torah? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak. Fine.
Well, Rabbi, I don't know that they can actually do so. So they'll need to raise their hands, and I'll be happy to help you on that.
Okay, if you could help me, that'd be great.
Of course.
Okay. I hope there's nobody I'm missing. I will move on here. Okay. Oh, we got some things in the chat. It leads to respect for others. This is from Greg Snyder. And the world in which we live. Right. Absolutely. There's a sense, if you had an awareness of God's presence in everything, there would be a different way you would treat everything more respectfully. Okay, let me put up the text again. I have a few clicks to get here to put it up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think, if there was a sense in whatever in my heart I felt as the reality of the Creator, of God, if I was able in that way to experience and feel that presence in all of life and all of creation, there would be more of a willingness that I would have to be open to see what can I learn from this situation, engage, to be able to say, something's happening that's really uncomfortable, and I don't want to deal with this. There would be a sense, as we heard earlier, less fear, more ability to say, if God's, just like Rabbi Spitz started us out with, God's presence with us in the darkness, in the shadows of death, that it's not even just that God is present with us, it's that all of this is filled with the creation. There's Psalm 139 gets to really articulates this experience of wholeness. The psalmist says, "Where could I go from your spirit? Or where could I flee from your presence? Even if I were to make my bed in the grave, you are there. Even darkness is not darkness to you. The night is as the day, the darkness as the light." So I think the piece that we're opening to is it possible that darkness, only darkness because there is something that we're not seeing in it? Or is it possible that darkness, even if darkness can be horrific and there can be pain, that there could be a willingness to engage the darkness and to be able to transform it into light? Now, the place that I think I want to take this is we're talking about this in a very heady way. And the reality is that having this just as an idea, even if we connect with it as an idea, we can forget. And so much of our tradition is about memory, and it's about remembering. How do we constantly be able to connect in with what is important, whether those are the people that we're connected to, or whether those are the values and the awarenesses. The way that Shabbat is talked about in the Ten Commandments, it's two ways. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho, remember Shabbat and keep it holy, or Shamor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho, guard Shabbat, practice Shabbat, observe Shabbat and keep it holy. One happens in the Exodus, in the moment of the revelation, Zachor, and the other happens in Deuteronomy, when Moses is recounting the commandments again. And this both are necessary, because if it was just Zachor, if it was just the experience of those first tablets that we have here on Shavuot, we would forget. If Shabbat was just left up to us to say, remember to make this sacred time, or remember to realize that God's presence is in everything, we would forget. We would get caught up in all of the stories and the constructions of our own castle in our lives. So instead, we have Shamor, observe Shabbat, practice to keep it holy, do something regular to help remind you of what is truly important, of what is the reality and the world that we want to live in. It's something that as Rabbi Nico and Rabbi Einstein shared, the mitzvot are something to keep us connected to ourselves and to what's deep. So we have to practice it. We have to observe it. So what I want to share with us this evening is a little bit of inner practice, a way to try to bring some possibility of awareness to the aliveness and the holiness and the fullness of this moment, even more than we may be feeling it now. Some of us may be feeling that tiredness and that sleep just kind of weighing over on our heads. So we'll start. Before we start with that, I'll offer one more teaching. This is from the Place-Rabbi, Menachem Mendel, and he shares, nothing persists unless God, may he be blessed, vivifies it. Vivifies it. In everything, there is an expansiveness of the Creator, and that is the meaning of his contracting his Shekhinah, that he dwells in the lower worlds. So in everything, there's an expansiveness of the Creator. And in fact, if we were to not feel or see that, it's on us, not on the nature of reality. The concrete physical aspect of everything is only the vessel and the boundary that limits the vision and taste and odor. And this spirituality is the vitality of the Creator that is drawn to and confined by the corporal. And I, want to say also is that it's not that the corporal or the physical is the barrier to a more expanded vision. It's that we get caught into thinking that the physical and the corporal is all that there is. We get caught into believing that our own limited perception of reality is all of that there is. And so when we forget, when we're not in touch with the presence of creation, we stop becoming curious, becoming interested, becoming open. So let's practice a little bit right now. All of this is throwing a lot of words at something that only lives in our moment-to-moment experience. So I want to invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes. It's okay if you feel like you're going to fall asleep. That's fine. You don't have to close your eyes. You can also stay present with the instructions. But begin by we're going to just bring our attention to this present moment. So just begin by noticing the experience of breath. Notice where the air enters the nostrils or the mouth, the way the body gently expands to make room for the inhale. Notice that place where the inhale switches over into an exhale and the body contracts as the air goes out. And then notice that ending point of the exhale that then turns like a wave drawing in from the shore, turns back into an inhale. And follow the cycle again, keeping your attention fixed on that movement of breath and how it feels in your body. And then become aware at the same time that you are attentive to this movement of breath, become aware of the shape of your body in space. Notice the contact between your bottom and whatever surface you're on, the place where your feet meet the ground or the floor. Feel the distance of your between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head. Notice the space between your ears and the way that your arms hang out of your shoulders and the resting place of your hands. At the same time that you're aware of the shape of your body in space and the pressure points and contact points of your body, you're also aware of breath. All of it is happening, is coming through you. And you may be aware of a certain kind of heaviness, maybe from the late evening, the tiredness. See if you can also notice what that feels like. Is it thick? Is it thin? Become aware of the sounds around you, not only my voice as it comes through your speakers, but maybe some of the other sounds around in your space. So you're present to breath, you're present to your body shape, you're present to the air and the space around you. And get a sense of the aliveness of everything in this moment. When you tune into your own body and imagine the cells that are working inside to play each individual part in your overall organism, there is a brilliant intelligence in each cell, an aliveness, a purpose. It knows its job. It knows exactly its place. The Holy One is that intelligence, that presence is infusing every cell in your body, is present in its intelligence, guiding every part of the organism. And you're aware of everything outside your body, the molecules of air and space designed perfectly for our own life on planet Earth, sense into how the environment, the air, supports consciousness, life in this moment. Feel the brilliance, the presence, the intelligence that is part of this surrounding environment, tailor-made for human and natural life. And then become aware of that space that we call mind, that we're present, we're completely present with breath and body and air and sound, and opening to the sense of aliveness, of presence in all of that. Also, notice the space in the mind, the way that the concepts and the thoughts and the patterns can form themselves to a label or an idea or a lens by which to view this moment, that there's a dynamism and aliveness even in that movement of thought. And begin to sense that this presence in us, in every cell, in all of us, is the Holy One, is the alive Yud-He Vav-He, bursting forth moment by moment in each unfolding act of creation in this moment. The willingness for us to completely let go of having to have some idea about what reality is about, and instead be truly open to the majesty and the infinite depth that might be possible in this moment, even if we can't tune into it. And as we take this, we sit in the middle of this awareness, we can notice that boundaries of who I am, what the rest of the world is, can begin to become more permeable, more translucent, maybe even dissolve into the awareness that all of it is echad, is one alive creation. And imagine for a moment, before we close with melody, imagine for a moment that we could walk through the world with a willingness, with a sense of wonder in each moment, that we can practice being aware and attentive to this moment, to each moment, that is the essence of Shabbat, creating space to be present with the aliveness and the reality of the beauty that we are a part of. To let that awareness of the beauty that we are a part of be the driving vision that helps us work towards alleviating suffering in the world. And that we can enter into each situation boldly, with engagement, with openness, because we know, because we sense that even in this ugliness, even in this conflict, the Holy One is present, waiting to be revealed. We'll close with a melody from words from the Tanya. This is a melody of Rabbi Michael Shapiro. It's on the bottom in the bold. I'll do it in nigun and then the words. Yai dai 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 dai. Ay dai 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 dai. Yai 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 dai 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 dai. Ay 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 ay la 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 dai. Ay dai 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 dai. Mimale kol ha'amin, v'sovev kol ha'amin, umi beladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Mimale kol ha'amin, v'sovev kol ha'amin, umi beladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Mimale kol ha'amin, v'sovev kol ha'amin, umi beladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Mimale kol ha'amin, v'sovev kol ha'amin, umi beladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Chag Sameach, everybody. I wish everybody blessings of trust and presence and willingness to engage and open to whatever is in front of us. It's my pleasure now to welcome Rabbi Sarah DiPaolo for this